We are live on LinkedIn. Hi, I'm Mary McCarthy here with the Data Tea on Thursdays. Delighted to be joined by a very special guest today, Emmanuel Achampong. Welcome, Emmanuel.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Mary.
Of course, yes. We go way back. We met on
We
LinkedIn
do. We
over
do.
a year ago because I found you because of your amazing work. So this feels like just having a chat over tea with an old friend and
It
catching
really
up on
does.
the developments on your company. You are the co-founder of something called Robo MUA, Robo Makeup Artist. And
Yes.
what drew me to your work and your company was that people who work in artificial intelligence, machine learning, anything data based, and that's
Mhm.
what your training is. You were recently finished up your master's, I think, at
Master.
Notre Dame, and
Yes.
in
Yes.
that subject. Um, and typically, companies, startups that are in, even in general in the tech space, are
Mhm.
something to do with finance, something to do with real estate, really anything e-commerce, anything but makeup and beauty. Even though, as you know, and as I know, as someone who doesn't work in beauty but is a big fan of beauty products, beauty is a $500 billion plus industry
Yep.
internationally.
Yep. Yep.
So your company, Robo Makeup Artist, tell us what it does first, and then we'll get into why you launched it, what it grew out of.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Robo Makeup Artist, the name Robo MUA, it stems from this whole beauty influencer culture online. So, if you were to go to YouTube or you go to Instagram, you see a lot of people, especially makeup enthusiasts, who use and apply makeup, call themselves MUA. So, like, there's, I think, Manny MUA or like Sarah MUA. So, that's where the concept of that Robo MUA comes from. I'm saying that because a lot of people get confused, like, what does that mean? That's the inspiration for that. But what we essentially do, like you said, is to build these algorithms, mainly in the computer vision space, and we can talk more about it later, to help people navigate the vast $500 billion makeup industry, right? So again, beauty isn't a one size fits all because we have different things that constitute to what would work for you specifically might not work for me. And so what we're doing is that we are converting that navigation of the beauty retail into a data problem and building algorithms to help solve it. We do have a couple of features. So some of them is like the foundation match. We have concealer matches. We have skin tint match, and we have a relatively new feature which helps uh, find the shade in the shapewear. We've been exploring our what we can do, our capabilities, and now we're currently exploring shapewear and helping people find the right shades in shapewear as well too.
So you're focused on any beauty and now fashion product where the fact that the product needs to match the skin tone of the consumer is key,
Yes,
right? Whether it's
yes,
shapewear or
absolutely,
foundation, it's got to
exactly,
match.
exactly.
So and to get into the nitty gritty, and people can, or just the very basics of it, people can check out the website right afterwards. I go onto your website. I say I want to find my color foundation. I upload a
Mhm.
selfie in JPEG format. And then
Yes,
within seconds, it gives me the shades,
yes.
which is pretty incredible. I tested it out
Uh,
a year ago. It was good. And, tested it out with not just my photo, but my daughter's photo as well, because I was like, I want to make sure that, it's matching up for a variety of skin tones. We have different skin tones. It worked. And it's working again still a year
uh,
later, probably with a bigger data set and more
yep, yep.
refined results. I was happy once again with the results that it gave me. Same for skin tint, foundation, and there's a third one, concealer,
Oh, this
maybe.
concealer, yeah,
Yeah,
concealers, yes.
exactly. Awesome. So a terrific product, a terrific website for whoever wants to go and find their color without going out to the store, which during COVID was really, really important. And now all of our habits have changed anywhere, where I can't
Yeah.
imagine going back out to Sephora or a department store and doing that
Brushes.
part in person. So this is amazing.
No.
So where did you get the idea specifically for this? I believe it was during a hackathon.
Yeah, so the hackathon came after. That's where building the first proof of concept occurred. But I think the inspiration came from it's a little bit of a long story, but my mentor in AI ML, he told me that as I'm looking at or studying AI ML, I shouldn't just focus on what everybody else is doing, right? Because like you
Mhm.
said, a lot of people are in finance, and so it's get easier to just be like copy and pasting code. So he threw a challenge that I should find problems that majority of people in AI ML are not paying attention to. And those are the types of problems I should look, especially if as an engineer, I want to grow my skills at an exponential rate at a very short period of time. And I think what weird story at that moment in time too, I think Forbes named Kylie Jenner a billionaire with her makeup company. And so I was like, oh wait, I didn't know that makeup could make someone that rich real quickly. So I started diving into makeup at that intersection. And because I knew about like computer vision and machine learning, as I was doing research on the makeup industry, there was common occurring themes, right? So all these influencers, like MUAs, as I mentioned earlier, they all complained about finding the right match, every single one of every single shade. Like everyone who tried a new foundation, I think at that time NARS was really popular, and everyone was concerned because they would send them these packages and then they'll send them the wrong shade, so they couldn't fully test out the foundation product. And that's when
It's a real business problem to take on. This is not typically an AI specialist who takes it on.
Exactly. And that's when I was like, okay, this could be a data problem. And I think in 2019 at the Facebook hackathon, that's when I pitched the idea, got a small team together, built the first proof of concept. We didn't win. I think I keep saying that, but the one of the judges was like, this is a really good idea. I think you should pursue it. And that's how like it skyrocketed from there. Yeah.
Amazing. And so at the hackathon, I believe the proof of concept you built out, the data set you used was just celebrity photos scraped from
celebrity
the web.
photos for celebrity and we had 5 skin tones at the time. I still remember the images from that hackathon. Yeah.
And now in your actual product, obviously you built out a data set. Anyone who's worked in data, specifically in anything computer vision, knows that building and working with a data set of human faces is very challenging in a number of ways. So first of all, how did you get your data set?
It's a great question. It's actually the most difficult aspects of all of Robo MUA. So right now we are catering to 50 different skin shades, and we use like Fenty Beauty's skin shade range all the way from 100 to 498. So we had to do a lot of manual work because again, there were no publicly available data sets. I think there's still no publicly available data sets that cater to 50 different skin tones that have different undertones. So the first thing that I did after the proof of concept had been built out, and my friends had tried it out, and the most feedback we got from that first proof of concept was that it wasn't matching a lot of people, especially dark skin tones. They were like, we couldn't find a match, which was the propeller to get more shade ranges into our data set. So did a lot of interviews. We did a lot of I did a lot of conversations with estheticians, with makeup artists, and like makeup enthusiasts. And so we're able to again define what the undertones of different shades were. So again, we have like the 5 main shades, which is porcelain, fair skin, olive skin, medium skin, and then dark skin. And then we had to identify all the undertones of those main shades. Again, using Fenty Beauty's 50 shade range as the benchmark, we're able to do that. And so we had to manually curate images and have what's it called, and have these conversations with these experts to be like, okay, this is what a dark skin with olive underskin tone looks like, and then this is what a fair skin with golden undertones look like. So we're able to use that, and again, scraping online webs for images, had to use a bit of the Google APIs, computer vision APIs, to identify images that have people's faces actually, and then manually label all those data. So that took weeks or months. So yeah, it was a very manual process. That's what I would say. It wasn't very automatic, unfortunately, because that data set had to be built up from the ground up.
Absolutely. And then you have your data set, which I assume you're continually adding to,
Absolutely,
iterating, yes. And then you feed it into a
deep neural network.
Yes. Tell me what algorithm modeling that you're using.
Yeah, so we are using deep learning. So we use a couple of artificial neural networks. The main one is like computer vision, like I said. So we use a lot of CNNs. We
to be confused with the news network. Convolutional neural networks.
Yeah, and I think again, since we are a very technical team, and as a person who's always trying to, I think at my core, I'm an engineer, so we are always experimenting with different algorithms. We always sometimes we're like, okay, what does it look like if we use transfer learning for the ResNet algorithm? Model. Like if you use the ResNet model, sometimes you use the DenseNet model, sometimes you use the VGG. And what happens is that because we are a very technical team, we are able to do a lot of A/B testing and try out so many things. And I'm sure that okay, there are a lot of users. They go on the website, they don't fully understand that every time they go to the website, there's a different model that you're interacting with. Just for us to see that it's which one has better accuracy for us. So yeah,
Right.
those are the
Which is
things.
it's great that your users don't understand what's going on under the hood. I remember the first time I tried it, just because I do have some of those insights, I was
Mhm.
amazed by how fast it worked, because I
Yeah.
kind of realized all the
And
calculations going on. But that's absolutely amazing. And your data stack that you
mhm.
use is what? I know most of the programming is done in Python, and
Yeah.
then PyTorch is a package. But
Yes.
what are the tools
Yeah.
that
So
you're putting that into?
everything is built in the cloud. Again, because we're a very small team, we haven't raised any funds, so we can't like afford to buy these expensive systems. So we leverage the cloud a lot. From the training perspective, I know a lot of people use like they create instances, GPU instances in the cloud to train the models. But for us, we realized that the cost benefit analysis, which is the cost benefit analysis, we realized that training the models in Google Colabs, Google Colab Pro Plus was actually cheaper than like training it in a GPU instance on Google Cloud. So we trained the model there, then we export the model to an instance in Google Cloud. Again, we have a Python Flask is the UI. And like you said, the model is built with PyTorch, but sometimes you use TensorFlow. Like it's again, as engineers, we're always experimenting, but mostly we use PyTorch, and then we deploy the model using Google App Engine, so that like Google Cloud takes care of things like the content delivery network. Like you said, it was able to be very fast. We have users around the world, so we let Google Cloud. Again, I feel like I'm advertising for Google Cloud. No,
I
it's
was about to
just
say, we don't do any product placement
we
for
don't
anyone, but
no product placement. Yeah,
it's
but
what
that's fine.
worked is that
Yeah,
you experimented with different tools, and it made the most
exactly,
sense,
exactly.
really, like for most people who are building something, whether it's the student doing it in their dorm room, or
hmm
a startup with millions of dollars. It comes down to ease of use, but also above all cost, right?
Costs, exactly. Because, like, I think you're probably aware, and most listeners could be aware, building an AI company is very costly. And I think that's why a lot of AI companies raise huge funds before they start building. But for us, since we already have an ongoing product, we have to make sure that we are very smart in the way that we are not incurring ridiculous amounts of costs.
Absolutely. I'm going to take a break here to look at some comments in the chat. Sylvia Owandatu wanted to know if the website has a virtual try-on. I believe it does, but I haven't tried that out.
Yeah, so right now we have an Instagram filter integration right now. The reason we haven't done the virtual try-on is we are still experimenting. We don't, again, because of the size of the team, we don't fully deploy all the features every single time we get it done. So there are things that are being tested in by certain users, some of our core users, and they will be rolled out slowly. But there are some of the features, some of the brands. I think Fenty Beauty, we have an Instagram filter for the Fenty Beauty results on the foundation. But other than that, for our virtual try-on, it's still in test phase, and we're going to be slowly rolling out, hopefully by this year.
It's still in beta. Okay, so
Yeah.
Sylvia, I think they have a newsletter if you go on their website, and you
Yes.
can get
Yeah.
updates on that. A comment from David Regalado. He's a data engineer based in Latin America. Hi, David. And he was just pointing out how astonishing and how much work it is to spend months labeling data, but that's the reality of this type of work. And also
Absolutely.
some comments from Charles Arday, who I believe is on your
Yeah,
team.
yeah. He's our
Yeah,
product manager, head of product. Hey, shout out, Charles.
yeah. Thanks for watching. We'll get you on next time, Charles. Let's move away from talking about the data work itself and get
Mhm.
into a little bit about the reality of being a founder in the data or tech space. Often, I think founders are more inclined towards the technical side because that's where the
Yeah.
idea comes from.
Yeah.
But then when it comes to building a business, that's hard. You guys are working with a ton of big logos. How did that start?
So I think like you mentioned, like again, coming from a very technical background, I am an engineer at heart, and so it was a yeah, I'd call it a culture shock, because I the beauty space is not very technical, and most of the people that we do engage with, they don't really care that your algorithm is, you're using PyTorch, or you have like, they don't really care about that. They only have a business use case, and is your problem, or is your solution fixing their problem, and that's all they cared about. But I was very fortunate in grad school. I was engaged, or I was part of like the startup ecosystem at Notre Dame. Shout out to Notre Dame. And there was a lot of resources that was made available for students who were trying to get into the entrepreneurial space. And so I really was very fortunate to take advantage of those resources, including alums who are at certain companies. And so I was able to use those networks and the resources to again establish those initial connections. But
So
in terms of
mentorship and community, you can't, it's hard to
exactly,
emphasize how
it's
important all that is.
yeah, yeah. Because again, coming from a technical background, I had no idea how the business worked, and so again, in college, I was able to pick up those skills. But also, we do have a great team. Like you said, there's Charles here, who's been doing tremendous work, reaching out to these brands and engaging with these brands and having those conversations with these brands. But I think the biggest aspect of all of this was that I had to switch my mind from this is a huge technical thing to this is a business solution, right? And that was a huge learning curve for me. uh and so it came with practice. We started practicing, we reached out to very small brands, and then because we were able to build trust with them, we were able to build that, and then we kept building till we got to some of these brands that we're able to work with right now.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah, no, I can tell you've got a good team going. That's super exciting. We are going to switch back a bit to the technical side because Sylvia has a question about that. She says, how do you deal with the external factors in photos, such as different lighting from the customer's photos? So does the system differentiate that data? That's a great
Yeah,
question, Sylvia.
that's an excellent question. There are multiple, like I said, there are multiple ways we try to experiment and work with this. One thing is to create a baseline for all images. So, like, you pre-process every image to have a standardized. So you remove all the external factors just to baseline the image before giving those predictions. That's one of the things that we've looked at, and we do, but again, like, we experiment with different types to see which one works best. We also just increase the data sets to include images that have noise. So one of our algorithms has just images that have more noise, but the other, we just like baseline all the images that are inputted. And I think the reason that we do that, again, just not to get too technical, is that one thing that I've realized is that models in production in the real world are very tricky to work with, because I know that sometimes, again, as engineers, we're like, hey, this is the accuracy of our model, this is what the precision is, this is what the recall is, so this is what. But the truth is that it works very differently in the real world, and so it's very experimental, and that's why we have those two different approaches. One, standardizing all images that are inputted, pre-processing them to a particular format before providing the prediction, and the other is just letting all the images, uh, having a data set that includes multiple noise in the images, and then getting those results from that as well too.
Can I ask how many images are in your data set now? Or do you
Oh,
know?
so the goal is to have 1 million images. I think
Mhm.
right now for the 50 Shades, I think we are at, including arms and legs for the shapewear,
For
I
the
think we are
shapewear.
213K.
Okay,
Yeah, I don't
wow.
have a firm, yeah, but we are around like 213K. Yeah, but
Right,
this is
amazing.
over
But
years, right?
it's just
Like,
the beginning for
it's
in
just
terms
the
of
beginning right now.
what you
Yeah,
plan to build.
yeah.
Who is your competition at this point?
So I think Beauty Core, they have a virtual try on, but I don't think they have it the way that we do, right? So for example, if you go to our website and you upload an image, you're going to get over 30 brands, right? You're going to get Fenty Beauty, Rare Beauty, uh, Liz, Uoma Beauty, even Gucci and Dior. But you're not going to get that on Beauty Core. But Beauty Core does have a product that is in that space, and they're doing awesome work too. So yeah.
Okay, yeah. But I'm sure always keeping an eye on your competitors to try to
Exactly.
stay a step ahead. I will check them out. To be fair, I'll
Oh,
check them out
yeah,
after the
please do
show.
check them out. Yeah, yeah,
I've
please
had a
check them
bias towards you because I know you personally. So let's talk a little bit about you, Emmanuel.
out.
You are again not the typical person in the beauty space. Probably, you're a man, obviously, um, and you have an unusual background for anyone working in data and tech here in the U.S., especially. So, where are you from?
Yeah, I'm Ghanaian, so I'm from Ghana. Yeah.
And
Uh,
you came for your undergrad and stayed
College. Yeah,
on.
I did undergrad in Kentucky, Berea College. Lived in New York for a bit, and then went to grad school at Notre Dame. Yeah.
Amazing. And your long-term plan is to stick with Robo MUA, or the sky is the limit? I know you're also teaching on Coursera.
Yeah.
Um, you've got you're juggling a lot.
Yeah, but in terms of the long-term plan, I think always learning, that's like my motto. So being in environments that are challenging me to always keep learning. And again, the reason I'm excited about RoboMUA is the field is not saturated, the beauty space, and so it makes it like super exciting to work and build things, right? So for example, we are building a skin care feature, which like it's not available anywhere right now, but like that makes it more interesting and more challenging, and it helps me grow my technical skills, and that's why like I'm still sticking with Robo MUA right now. But in terms of like the teaching aspect, they're all related, right? Everything I do is more related to always learning, always growing. And so I'm excited for what the future is, but I can't really, I think the best way to predict it is to just create it. So hopefully Robo MUA turns out great, and then more things come out of it.
Absolutely. And you answered actually a question that Gina Acosta Gutierrez asked. Thanks, Gina. But she said, are you thinking about adding other features? So one of the upcoming features hopefully will
Yeah,
be skincare products.
yeah.
And that would be based on a data set that's not visual, that would be based on sort of questionnaires about people's skin, or
Skin.
is it too early on to know how you're going to do that?
It's I would say it's too early on, but there is a visual component. There's so many. What we are envisioning at Robo MUA is to uh, be a part of the user's journey across the whole beauty spectrum, right? So it's not just like makeup is our first few features, but we are thinking, hey, what does it look like for skincare all the way to the end makeup product, right? Everything and everything in between. What does that look like for hair? For hair extensions, for different hairstyles, what does that look like even for fragrances, right? So like the whole spectrum of beauty is what we are targeting. Again, it's a difficult and interesting problem, but slowly but surely you'll get there.
So an AI algorithms for the entire beauty
The
universe. I love it. We,
entire
we will
beauty.
stay tuned. Yeah. Um, the anyone who's working with data sets that involve human faces
Hmm.
are dealing with some ethical questions, right?
Yeah.
I noticed that on your website that you added in now, telling people that you don't actually save their images. Was that in response to privacy concerns that you were getting, or was that just from your own? We should, we should do this and tell people that
This
we're doing it.
Yeah, so I think from the very beginning, we never stored people's images. Like again, ever since it was a proof of concept, that was the main thing, the first model that got deployed. And so the notion of not storing people's images, at least without informing them, was built in from the very beginning, even from the first hackathon that we did. The note there was just to reinforce people because we were getting those types of questions. Like I said, our product is used by people all over the world, and so hearing people from India or Dubai or from Ghana or Kenya or the US or Canada using it, I think that was the recurring comments that people were asking, hey, what are you using our image data for? Because people assume that we are using their images to train our model, which would be ideal in some situations, but we really respect people's privacy and data. And it was like, that's one of the core beliefs that we had, was to make sure that we are not storing people's images, especially without informing them. So we don't store anyone's image. If you upload an image and you refresh, it's gone. There's no way for us to track it or know what that is. So it's gone. You get your results, and then it's gone for now. Yes.
Part of what I'm not hiding that I'm a fan of Robo MUA, and part of what draws me to the story is that so much of anything we hear about data sets involving human faces is pointing out that there's so much bias in general within those data sets towards people of color, often even towards older people. So much like discrimination built into data sets, whether they're data sets that are being used by massive consumer platforms for their own purposes, or by surveillance companies, or the state. How much do you kind of chime in on those debates, saying we can use these data sets, build these data sets, but we can do it responsibly?
Yeah, so I think in terms of the I think, or what I'm trying to
I know you're an engineer. You purposely put yourself out there as an engineer and not a thought leader. So is it more just by doing it by example? Is that kind of how you're chiming in on that, by saying we can do this in a way that has a good purpose, that's helping women who maybe didn't have access to finding out the right shade, rather than using these type of data sets to crack down on people in prejudicial ways?
Yeah, I think so. I think what I'm trying to get at right now is that the way we built it, RoboMUA, from the scratch, from the beginning, was to invite multiple voices onto the table, right? And again, like, we have a beauty consultant on the team. When we were building the data set from the very beginning, we had so many conversations with various estheticians and makeup enthusiasts of all different skin shades, right? That's how we're able to identify that, hey, dark skin isn't just dark skin. There's so many undertones of dark skin that all need to be represented. That was one of the reasons we're able to realize that the Fenty Beauty 50 shade range should be the standard, and then everything we build from there should match that, right? So I think that in terms of like the inclusion or the ethical part of it, I think having multiple voices at the table is the best way. Again, like you said, like, there are very few people who are in AI who are also in beauty. Why should that be the case? I think that people in beauty should be able to identify or be involved in the conversations of the things that are being built, or the AI algorithms that are being built for their industry or in that space, right? So having multiple voices is super important, because I think we tried to Google dark skin with golden undertones and Google images, and the results were not very good, right? And it's because I'm sure very few people are looking at that particular problem, right? So I think even in terms of, like you said, the ethics of it, having multiple voices is how we ensure equity, and so that it's not just a few people who build it and then say, hey, this is what we've built for the world. But if more voices in the space, they're able to identify unique problems with the data sets, and that could help prevent so many things that could come down the line.
Yeah, so you created a data set and a product that serves the wide diversity of people that exist on planet Earth across like over 100 countries in terms of people who've used the product. But conversely, we could say, ideally, every AI team, every team building a data set should have a huge diversity of people, which is not the reality. If all the tech and data companies had, my take on this is you prevent the bias that emerges in these algorithms at the very beginning by starting with the human beings working on them. Of course, then there's lots of tweaks. There's always iterations and improvements, but it's not a technical problem to solve. It starts with the people working on it. So
very great point, right? Like I mentioned, like when we built the proof of concept, we only thought of 5 skin shades. Like the users in the space were like, hey, no, like 5 is not it at all. 10 is not it at all. 20 is not it at all. In order to build this and make it very inclusive, it has to be 50. And the only reason we got to that conclusion was not because we're speaking to other engineers or people in the AI space who have vast amount of knowledge. It was because we're listening to the people in the beauty space who were using these products, who understood what it meant for who understood what it meant to build innovative technologies in their space. So like, yeah, absolutely. It's, I think,
so diversity not even just for the ethical point, but because that's what's going to serve your consumers and in the end to make your business stronger.
Exactly.
Amazing. Well, I hope more companies take this example, and also they go and check out Robo Makeup Artist. This has been amazing, Emmanuel. We'll
Oh,
check in again,
awesome.
in a few months, see how things are going. And I will post the link to. We have a comment from David Regalado who wants the link not just to Robo MUA but also to your Coursera courses. So we'll put that up, and people can check those out to get. And they're on, just briefly, they're on machine learning, right?
Yes, the courses are on machine learning. Yes.
Amazing. Okay, great stuff. So thanks so much for being with us, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks for having me, Mary. Appreciate it.
Okay, cheers.
Bye.